Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys all turning out on this cold evening. So that's me, Lana Ahrens. Really excited to bring this topic to you guys. It is so important. But one thing I will say about this topic is that it changes daily, if not hourly, okay? Internet safety changes literally all the time. So we have to stay on top of it, okay? So just a little tip. Such an important topic that we're gonna look at today. Online, what are your kids doing online? Any? Snapchat. What else? What's that? Watching Netflix, Instagram, playing games. Yeah, absolutely. All of those things for sure, right? All of those things. We have to know what our kids are doing online, okay? What apps they're getting on, what games they're playing, what videos they're watching. We have to know. So I'm taking y'all to this slide. This slide always kind of overwhelms me. There's a lot of apps on here. Are there any that you guys recognize? Pinterest, yeah. Okay, quick note on Pinterest. Pinterest is super nice, super fun, right? What do you do on Pinterest? Like things. There's like recipes, right? Maybe some craft things. But there's also child porn. And I was like, who knew? It's Pinterest. Pinterest is like the most fun thing. People go on there to like plan their weddings and things like that. But no, there's also child porn. And there is a way to message people on Pinterest as well. What else? Another app anybody in here knows about you? Someone mentioned Instagram, right? Do any of your kids have an Instagram account? Yeah? Do they have a Finsta account? Have you guys heard of a Finsta account? Okay, you need to be aware, do your kids have a Finsta account? A Finsta account, it's a hidden account within Instagram, okay? So your kids have their regular Instagram that, they're posting the nice pictures, liking pictures of puppies and cats and all those great things. But then behind that, they could also have a Finstagram, which is technically a private account that you might not be aware of, okay? And there's a way looking at your child's Instagram to see if there's two accounts linked to it. That's how you would know if your kiddo had a Finsta account, okay? Finsta is very much like a popularity thing, like they try to see how many people can get like the most likes on something, right? Okay, so that's my tip on Instagram. What else? What other apps? YouTube. We got YouTube Kids, right? That's fine because it's got the word kids in it, right? So it's perfectly safe. No, it's not at all. Not 100% safe. We do have alternatives to kids' YouTube that I'm going to reference as well. So not perfectly safe. Anything else? Those were some good ones you guys mentioned. Does any go? Where? Bitmoji. Yeah. Why? What's wrong with Bitmoji? Well, we can find out. And we're going to look at that. So this might be a little overwhelming, right? There's a lot of apps, okay? Do you guys know how many people are using apps, using social media apps in the world? How many people? Yeah, 2 billion to be exact. There are 2 billion in the world that are using social media apps. That's a lot of people and a lot of bad people that could potentially have access to your kids, okay? But back to your question about Bitmoji, we're going to look at that. But does anybody know or have heard of Omegle? No? Okay, that's probably a good thing. Omegle, that's a no. There's absolutely no reason for your child to be on Omegle. When you log on to it, the first thing it says is perverts not welcome. Okay? So that keeps them away, right? With that sign? No, of course not. Omegle is a video chatting service. It's live video stream. You log on, you will instantly be connected with somebody else on a video chat. You can scroll to see other people, and within about a couple minutes of being on Omegle, you will absolutely run into people doing explicit sexual acts on video, okay? This is live video chat. Anybody can get on and do these things online. Omegle is also not hosted in the United States. So that's something else with apps that you really want to be aware of, about where it's hosted. Because if it's not hosted in the United States and it's out of another country, another example of it would be Likey. Have you guys heard of Likey? That's hosted in Singapore. So if anything does happen to one of your kids on one of these apps, it's much more difficult for law enforcement to do anything about it if it's not hosted in the United States. Okay, so please, there are things they can do, absolutely, but you can imagine it's a much more difficult process when you're trying to prosecute somebody or get information for somebody and it's hosted in another country, okay? They're much less likely to want to cooperate. So be aware of that. Yubo, anybody know about Yubo? That's another no for your kids, okay? This isn't just going to be about no's for your kids, though, but there are these three that I want to highlight. Yubo, it's like Tinder for kids, because kids need that, right? Kids need a Tinder. It's, your swipe right, swipe left. It's a flirting app for young kids. A lot of sexual exploitation can occur on that. Let's see, what else? Snapchat, you guys all know about Snapchat. So I had the question about, well, what's Bitmoji? What's wrong with Bitmoji? So one of the resources I want to leave you guys with today is a website called Protect Young Eyes. I will give the caveat, it's a pretty conservative website, okay? But for purposes of information, I think it's very important. You go to Protect Young Eyes, you can click on any one of these apps. It's going to give you the rating, it's going to tell you about what kind of content you might find on it. So let's click on one and see. Okay. So this is the app I'm talking about. So you see all the apps on the sides. There's Bitmoji. We'll click on that in a second. So it talks to you about what is Omegle, the rating. It's 17 and up. A lot of explicit content, live nudity. All of those things can be found on here. You're talking to strangers immediately. Okay, bottom line, nothing good about Omegle, okay? So let's look here, Bitmoji. Have you guys heard of this site before? Okay. Let's see. Okay, 12 and up, not bad. Anybody, kid use it is under 12? Hopefully not, okay. Maybe some profanity, maybe some nudity, but it's infrequent, right? So the app can be fun, some profanity. So 12 and up, okay? So no, maybe Bitmoji isn't terrible, right? But we have to be aware. You have to know what apps your kids are using and what those apps are for. And one note I want to make sure you guys know is that there is no good or safe app. Okay? And that is straight from the FBI, straight from FBI agents who work regularly with protecting crimes against children on the internet. They will 100% say there's no good apps. Okay, I think sometimes we want to think, sorry, y'all, let me get out of my, okay. I think a lot of times we want to think, well, this is a safe app, this app's okay. No, there are just apps, okay? There are a lot of bad apps, and then there's just apps. Because any app out there, somebody can use it for bad. Somebody can use it to exploit a child, just like the example with Pinterest. Yeah, Pinterest is great, but then, yeah, you can find porn, and then people can privately chat with you. So there is always a way around these apps, just like with Instagram, just like with Snapchat. People think, oh, the image disappears, right, when you do a Snapchat? Well, what if that person takes a screenshot of it and then sends it on to their buddies, okay? So no, every app, there are just apps, okay? So protect your kids, protect yourselves with these apps. I want to mention Bark really quick. Bark is an app for parents that you can download, and it will alert you if your child has had access to any explicit content online. I want to be very clear in the presentation that we're never going to tell you guys that your kids should not use any technology and keep the phone away from them, don't let them get online. No, absolutely not. Internet is a part of their lives, right? Our kids are being born where, cell phones are the norm, smartphones are the norm. It is going to be a part of their daily and regular lives. So they need to know how to use it, right? They need to know how to use that technology. So we're never going to say restrict kids from it. But there are things you can put in place, such as Bark, an app to download, to help keep your kids safer online, okay? Any questions about the apps, okay? Again, I recommend Protect Young Guys. You can find out all the information about the content. Vault apps. Nobody mentioned the Vault app. Has anybody heard of Vault apps? Still very real, okay? It's still a problem. Basically, a Vault app is a way to hide private information or information that you want to keep private. Maybe that's nude images, maybe it's certain text messages that you want to keep private, and they are called Vault apps. They can be disguised as a calculator. So maybe if your kid has 2 calculators on their phone, look at those. That is a sign. 2 apps that are exactly the same, one is very likely a Vault app for you. We've got some tips up here. You can look for those apps. If your kid has downloaded any of those apps, those are secret Vault apps for hiding private images or messages. Okay, so be aware. Look at your kids' devices. Does anybody have access to their kid's device? Okay, yes. Always have access to your kid's device. Know the password. That is very important that you know the password on all your kids' devices, okay? And are you probably the one who pays for that device? You are? Yeah. So you absolutely need to have access to that device, have access to that password. Any questions about Vault apps? All right, so this is, I kind of want to get a little technical with us. Do most of us have smartphones in the room, or smartphones, iPhones or Androids? iPhone, raise your hand. Okay, the majority is iPhone. So I just want to quickly look at the parental controls for your iPhone. I'm going to grab my phone to demonstrate this. So this page is straight off of Apple's Support Center, okay? Easily accessible. I want to click right here. It will tell you step by step how to set up all of these parental controls. The one that stuck out to me the most, especially with our young kids, is preventing explicit content and content ratings. So I'm going to click there. Oh, there we go. Okay. So specifically down here. So all of this content, this is going to be under your settings. You guys can walk along if you want to on your smartphones. Go to your settings tab, and you'll see, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a link that says screen time. Click on that screen time. And then there's a link for content and privacy restrictions, and click on that. And then you can set the tab for content and privacy restrictions there. And I clicked on content restrictions. You can set the ratings for, like, if you don't want your kids to have access to NC-17 or R-rated movies online, you can click that on here. You can click only allow PG-13 movies, or only allow clean music, things like that. And then there's one for web content that says limit adult websites. All your phones are probably automatically set to allow for all of those things. Okay, so make sure. Have you guys already done this before? No? Is this new? Okay, this is good. I want you guys to leave here with something to take away. So again, do these controls. set these limits, these content restrictions on phones. One thing we know, because of our smartphones, because of technology, kids are having a much earlier access to pornography. It used to be, back in the day, you know, kids maybe 13, 14 was first exposure to pornography. Now it's happening at 9 or 10 years old, okay? And that is because it's so easily accessible, easy to access online, whether it's Netflix or Instagram, it's on there. Explicit pornography content is on there. So set those limits to help protect your kids. Not saying take away their phones, just set some limits. Yes, I would do spot checks then. I don't think we never would recommend just removing it, but do a spot check every now and then randomly. Another tip is, do you guys let your kids have their phones at nighttime when they're going to sleep? I know I do, and it's something that I'm working on, but that is what we hear, is to take the phones away at nighttime. When it's time to go to sleep, it's time for them to go to sleep, and take the phones away at nighttime. Yeah, that's another way I would recommend setting the limit. You're not completely restricting it, but kids need to go to sleep. So we know, looking at a screen in the middle of the night can be really interfere with sleep, and so yeah, so we do recommend that for sure. This is, for my Android folks, this is your parental controls. It's the Google Play Help. If you just go support.google.com. Again, guys, all this information is there for you. It's just a matter of us as the adults having to access that information. These are some recommendations as far as the setting those controls. We're never going to completely deny our kids the access, but these are some tips. I already mentioned Bark. We looked at the Apple, and then there's, of course, the Google one. Gab. Has anybody heard about Gab? So we hear a lot, well, my kid has to have a cell phone because, they ride the bus or they go home, they walk home from school and I'm not home yet. I want to make sure they're safe, all of those things, right? Do we want our kids to have phones? Maybe, yeah. But then the question is, why do they have to have a phone with internet access? If we're always hearing, well, I want my kid to be able to call me if there's an emergency. Well, there are phones that you can just text and talk on. They still make those, I promise. Gab is one of those options. It is just like a smartphone, but without the internet, okay? So if you have younger kids in here who don't have phones yet, Gab would definitely be an option. I know there's watches, Gizmo, that's another option. Maybe they can only dial for 4 numbers, something like that. So if there were an emergency situation, they could get a hold of you guys, of the parent, okay? There's a program out of Austin. It's called Wait Until 8th. Have y'all heard of that? Has it made its way up here? Yeah, I see one person. So that whole idea behind, don't just give in and get your kids a smartphone when they say they want a smartphone because they're saying all their friends have one. Did y'all hear that? I definitely heard that. Well, so-and-so has one, and he has one, and she has one, so I should have one. And so there's all that pressure on us, right, as parents to give in because, yeah, we get it. We get peer pressure. We don't want our kids to get made fun of, all of that. But there's a movement of parents coming together and saying, hey, let's all hold out. And if all the parents are holding out and nobody's kid is getting a cell phone, and what's the average age? Y'all know?
6th grade.
6th grade? It's a little lower. 4th grade.
I feel like it's more like leaving elementary, going into middle school.
Yeah, absolutely. We're 9 years old, 4th grade. But yeah, we held out till 6th grade. Yeah, we were so strong, right? So, but no, if everybody comes together as parents and say, hey, let's just wait. Our kids don't all need cell phones right now or smartphones or what, then that makes it a lot easier, right? Because then not all the kids have one. And they can just have regular communication and contact without having that smartphone device. So I don't know that I've heard much about it in this area. Is that what you knew about wait until 8th? Okay, yeah. Does it sound like a good idea? I thought it did. I was like, that's great. So, but again, these are, of course, just suggestions of parental controls that you can put on devices, have on your computers. We hear really good things about the Disney circle at Disney. It's with like computers, making sure that your computer is not accessing any contact in the house, okay? Any questions about that? Okay, so that's all we need, right? We just need parental controls and then an app to notify us if they've had explicit content. Is that it? No. It's not, guys. Technology is not going to catch everything, right? And we have to communicate, and I know that is so difficult, right? We've got those teenagers, but there is help out there for us. Just know, with technology, there are concerns. Your kids can have access to all these things like we've kind of discussed, inappropriate content, privacy issues, cyberbullying, sexting. Yes, we are going to talk about sexting. Talk to your kids early. So I know your kid's just 18 months, right? I'm not verbal yet. Maybe wait till I can talk. But yeah, I mean, as soon as they're verbal, like, this is something the kids need to know as soon as they're young and growing up. They are growing up with this technology at their fingertips. It's different than how some of us grew up, and so talk to them about it early and often, okay? When kids are getting older, we've got to talk about cyberbullying. We've got to talk about sexting. Meeting offline. At my agency at DCAC, we do a lot of training on how to recognize and report child abuse, okay? And so we always talk about how stranger danger isn't, that relevant anymore because we know kids are usually abused by people that they know, trust, and love, okay? It's not a stranger that is sexually abusing or physically abusing. It's someone that child knows. Except when it comes to the internet. Kids are still meeting and talking to strangers online. And we know that technology is used in the grooming process, okay, to lure people, to lure kids. It is used in that process. So make sure your kids know about not talking to strangers, okay? They might think they're talking to another 13-year-old that's their same age, when really on the other side of the computer, it's a 35-year-old man. Okay? They have no idea who they're talking to, right? On that computer screen. So make sure they're not posting information, private information. Another thing, sorry, I'm going to backtrack to the smartphones. Make sure you're turning off location services. Okay? That's also in your settings. But if you have location services, like you'll need it for some things like your maps and things like that. But there's no reason any other app should know where your location is, okay? But if you look in your settings, you'll probably see all of your location services are probably turned on. Do y'all know about location services? Okay, it's in your settings. Make sure location services are all turned off. There's no reason why your Instagram should know where you are, or your Facebook, or any of that, okay? Turn off location services. Unless it's for maps, you can have it to have location services just while in use, things like that. But make sure, especially with your kids, location services are turned off. I'm going to skip this. This is going to be for your younger kids. This presentation is created by NetSmartz, and NetSmartz is a part of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So NetSmartz has some amazing content on it for kids. There are videos for kids, little activities for kids. So your kid's looking for something to do online, I would recommend NetSmartz. They'll meet these little guys. So there's videos. The video, it's for like a little kid, so we're not gonna necessarily watch it in here, but know that is a resource, netsmart.org. Okay, we know this is inappropriate content your kid could potentially run into. If you know your kid has seen something, we've got to talk to them about it, okay? We don't want to terrify them. We don't want to get angry or mad at them, but talk to them. Remind them it's not their fault Okay, this is probably for our younger kids. Be calm, don't frighten them, help them report it. You guys know about reporting any explicit content? If somebody sees something, tries to do something to your kid online, report it. cybertipline.org. We have to be reporting those things. If there's, when we talk about sexting, if there's a photo out there and it's on a site and you're aware of it, we know about it, report that. Report Cybertipline. They will help remove any explicit images that are up there that need to be taken down, that should be taken down, okay? Make sure your kid knows, turn off the screen, tell a trusted adult, okay? If they come across something, okay? Again, remind them of netiquette, right? Not posting anything offensive, not oversharing online, right? Everybody's got social media accounts. There are some articles that I have put out for you guys that recommend, there's no reason why any kid younger than middle school should have a social media account. Social media was not designed for kids. It was designed for adults, for entertainment. So your kids don't need to be on it. I would think eighth grade and up is probably appropriate. And in fact, like Facebook, they have, I think 13 is the age, but people can lie about their age, right? Do people ever do that? So just make sure if your kids do have a social media account, one that you wait till they're a little bit older and make sure they know not to post anything offensive. So what do you need to do? One, we want you to connect with your kiddo. We want you to talk, have those conversations. With an older kid, we realize those conversations could be difficult. So we always recommend those side-by-side moments that you have with your kid. Let's say in the car. You're driving in the car with your kid. That is a really good time to have some of those more difficult conversations. Because you're side-by-side, right? You're not having to look them straight in the eye. That uncomfortableness that might happen. So any side-by-side moment, whether that's in the car, maybe you guys are cooking a meal together, something like that, can ease some of that comfort, okay? And of course, we want you to learn. I know you guys are all here to learn, but continue the learning, because like I said, this stuff changes every day. It is our responsibility as adults to learn about what is out there. I was at my local Y the other day, and there was a posting of want to learn more technology information, set up a meeting with our teen trainer. And I'm like, we're getting teenagers to teach us how to use the internet, how to use technology, which is fine, but we as adults, we have to learn about it. Read the articles. There's a lot of good information out there. The internet's a great thing. This is where we get it. The things that we're talking about today, I got off the internet from trusted sources, trusted sites, from other trainings that I've been to, okay? So learn about it, okay? And engage with your kid. Maybe if there's a video game they like, play that game with them sometimes. See what it's all about, okay? Talk to them about the things that they like to do online. If conversations can ever be difficult, there's a great article in a parenting magazine. I give you guys the site for that later, but it has 230 conversation starters with your kids for all ages and for all circumstances. Just questions to help get those conversations going, okay? Especially because we know with our older teens that can be difficult, okay? With online privacy, make sure your kids aren't posting like your address online and things like that. We know, right, maybe pictures of friends, some games, but nothing personal. Nothing personal should be posted. Internet safety, it's just another rule. When your kids are growing up, did you ever teach them about wearing seatbelts? Do they always have to wear a seatbelt? I hope so, right? They do. Please make sure your kids are wearing your seatbelts. What about when they're crossing the road? What'd you tell them? Look both ways. What about when they're riding their bikes? Wear a helmet. Absolutely. So we already teach our kids safety rules. So internet safety, it's just another rule. It's just another regular rule. It doesn't have to be anything drastic or scary or frightening. It's just another safety rule, okay? All right, we are going to talk about sexting. There is some good handouts on there. Again, those handouts are straight from NetSmartz, okay? Straight from the agents, FBI, the people who are working in the field and dealing with sexting. So it's a pretty scary statistics, but we have to talk about it. I was talking to an attorney today, and she was letting me know about a case that happened recently at a school. I don't know what school district, where 2 kids engaged in sexual contact at the school, and it was filmed. They're not going to get in trouble for the contact. They're not sure they can prove anything on versus whether the girl consented or not. She didn't say no, so technically there was consent between 2 14-year-olds, but it was filmed on video. So do we think this guy, he kept the video to himself, right? What did he do with the video? He shared it, absolutely, he shared it. So now all his buddies that he shared this video with, what do they all have on their phones at this moment? What's that? They got her. Yeah, child pornography. Yeah, absolutely. That is child pornography. The minute you share anything like that, that's a distribution of child pornography. Second-degree felony. It's just like if you were pulled over and they found cocaine in your car. It's high. It's bad. So now all these kids who have it on their phone, they're the ones who are potentially going to be facing charges. Okay, and you never know what the law enforcement officers will do. I've heard other people say it's like playing Russian roulette when you're sharing these images, when you're texting nude images, because you never know how law enforcement, what they will choose to do with that, okay? It is a criminal offense, so we have got to educate our kids. I realize it's a different world we live in, right? If I wanted to do something like that, I'd have to, take that picture, then take my film to Walgreens, wait for it to get printed out, go back the next day, get my photo, and then maybe give it to my boyfriend. So that takes probably like a week or so, right? Kids, it's instant now, right? So we have to be talking to our kids. We have to be educating our kids about it. And I know we're always going to think, no, not my kid. My kid wouldn't do that. But have we talked to them about it? Okay, talk to them about it. There's some really good handouts out there about that. These are what kids are saying. We do hear a lot, well, everybody's doing it. But that's still, it's not okay. It's illegal. It's a crime. But this is what we are hearing about it. I do want to show this video. It's for kids, it's for teenagers, but I think it really hits the point.
You probably get lots of messages every day, but what if you got one like this? What would you do? Would you send a picture? No? Cool. That's an easy way to protect yourself. But what if you chose them differently? What if you send the picture? They'd never share it with anyone else, right? Do you want the picture shared with others? Sorry, you no longer have a choice. It's out of your hands now. Because sometimes people we trust break that trust. Maybe the person who sent the picture to shows it to some friends. Maybe they send it to a couple friends, who send it to a couple more friends, you get the idea. It spreads, and you never know who might see it. Your little brother, your mom, other people at school, even strangers can get a hold of your picture. You never really know where that picture will end up. out there? Or what the consequences will be? Don't let others decide what happens to your image. Think before you share. Learn more at netsmartz.org. And hey, if your image is already out there, know that it's not your fault. For information about removing sexual pictures and videos from the internet, visit missingkids.org/gethelpnow.
There's a couple more like that, but that's one that I think kind of hits home and hits the point that we're trying to make when it comes to sexting. But again, if there is an image out there, get help. They can get it removed as long as it's stayed local in the United States. Consequences of sexting, not great. Again, talk to your kids about it. Let them know that there are consequences. Discuss those healthy relationships. If we don't want to talk about it, show them a video, and then report it. Okay. So this is some solicitation that we know occurs on a lot of the social networking sites, your Instagrams, your Facebooks, all of that. It's a part of the grooming process. Perpetrators are on there looking for kids, soliciting kids, teenagers. So we have to be aware of that. These are ways that offenders can groom. Gifts, cell phones. A personal example is my son was offered a job by some random stranger. And I'm like, that's grooming. That's a perpetrator trying to have access to him. So be aware of any kind of requests like that. Gifts, things like that. If your kids are seen online. Ways to check. If your kiddo is doing something inappropriate online, these would be some signs. Closing the screen quickly, getting those gifts, getting really upset when you don't let them get online. Okay, those are some signs to watch out for. Again, it all goes back to we got to talk to your kids about it. Okay, make sure your kids know not meeting strangers offline. And again, I know we probably think never my kid, right? But have we talked to our kids about it? A kid did communicate. They did ask for nudes, and the kiddo was like, "No, bye, gross. Keep your clothes on." So, and then report it. So if somebody does try to solicit your kid, reach out, report it. And know that sometimes maybe it's not your kid, but it's one of your kid's friends. Okay, we know that a lot of times friends tell other friends first, right, before they're going to tell an adult. So make sure your kids know, like, hey, if your friend tells you something like that, let an adult know. Talk to an adult, okay? Again, I know cyber tip line, we've talked about that before, but it's got to be reported. Anybody who asks to meet your kid offline, anybody who asks for sexual images, photos, things like that, report it. Okay. A little bit about cyberbullying. I know I think time is out, and I do want to open it for some questions if you guys have any questions at all. But we got to talk about cyberbullying with our kids, right? It's happening. It's easier to make fun of a kid behind a computer screen than it is to their face. So these are some ways kids are doing that: embarrassing photos, things like that. I will say suicide is rare among cyberbullying. We're not going to watch the video, but there are more videos on it. Know that if your kiddo is maybe being cyberbullied, these are some signs to look out for. Have they stopped using their phone or computer? Are they nervous when texting? Uneasy about going to school, withdrawing? Okay, be aware of the signs. You've got to be able to recognize it. Make sure you get help. Talk to the school. Report it. Look for the signs. If your kiddo maybe is the cyberbully, these would be some signs to look out for. Using the computer at all hours of the night. Again, which is why we'll always recommend that kids not have devices with them at nighttime, okay? Make sure we set consequences, monitor your child's behavior, establish expectations, and talk to your kids. This is where it comes in, where if one of your kids' friends tells them something, make sure they're not being a bystander. Encourage them to be an upstander, okay? If it's one of their friends that they're telling you or they're telling a teacher, that they're telling somebody, okay? If it's not them that's being hurt, but somebody they know is being hurt. We've kind of talked about this already, the different options that you have. Okay, lastly, we know, again, technology is not going to catch everything, so you've got to communicate. Okay, I think that's, yeah. Again, okay, so this is NetSmartz with the videos and the presentations, the tip sheets, so those tip sheets that are out there, all of this is free. Print it out. Your kids can get on this site. NetSmart for kids. This is going to be your younger kids, some fun games, things like that, okay? So some resources, some tips. Any questions? Jellies. I think it's a pretty neat story, but it was created by a dad who was just kind of tired of what his kids were having access to, whether it's YouTube Kids, even your Netflix for kids. There's also a blog on there. There's support. There is definitely hope, right? Technology is a wonderful thing. We're going to use it. We're always going to use it. It's always going to be there. Just connect with your kid, learn about what they're doing online, and engage with them with what they're doing online. So that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys got something from that. So thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys.